And welcome to Migration, Season 3, Episode 3. Today we're doing something just a little bit different. I've actually released two videos at once. In the first one you're watching here, I'm going to give you some background and some context to the subject we're covering. And in the second one, I'll be talking with another seasoned lucid dreamer, Dave Green, who's been doing research into this very subject, which is one of the most mind-boggling aspects of lucid dreaming. We're exploring a common occurrence in the otherworldly conscious realms that threw me for a loop for years, to the point where I was obsessed with finding a satisfying answer for myself, and that is, who, or more specifically, what are these characters you run into inside lucid dream or astral projection states? Now, of course, modern psychology would say, well, the fact that you're lucid shouldn't really matter. You're still dealing with subconscious aspects of yourself. But the more I explored these realms and interacted with people or other intelligent beings in those states, many of whom did not present themselves as human, it became clear to me that the answer that traditional psychology would offer was clearly not the full picture, or at the very least, we need to strongly revisit just what this subconscious we keep referring to actually is, what its actual qualities really are. Now, we have been taught to believe that the subconscious is just another part of the mind that is self-contained within a region of the brain that only has access to the same information that we have, our conscious selves have. But my experiences, as well as mounting research, is pointing to a definition of the subconscious that's not only challenging our typical notions of the self, it appears to be able to tap information we've never had access to in our daily lives. That is the particular rabbit hole we're diving down today, so get comfortable, smoke 'em if you got 'em, and get ready for today's episode of Migration. In this two-part episode, we're talking about interacting with intelligent characters inside our lucid dream states who, in every respect, present themselves as independent, conscious beings. From my own experience, as well as research from many others, these characters can be more insightful or even more intelligent than yourself, it seems. Characters who have access to original, unique ideas or information that we just don't have access to. Dreamers have claimed that their lucid characters can accurately describe what's going on in other parts of the globe, or even fluently speak a language that the dreamer has little to no experience with. The more research I've done, I found that these occurrences are so common with lucid dreamers. It's just a subject that demands more of our attention. So the kind of situation that I'm referring to would often play out a little bit like this for me. And if you're a lucid dreamer, you're likely familiar with this basic kind of scenario. I would find myself in an ordinary dream, and that is one where I was unconsciously, blindly following some little storyline that I'm wrapped up in. And in this dream, I would be surrounded by other people for one reason or another. Maybe they looked like friends or family of mine, people from real life, or maybe they were people I knew only within the context of the dream. Sometimes I'd find myself in a room full of characters from some book I'd been reading or a show I'd been watching. I remember years ago when I was binge watching old Star Trek episodes, I would often find myself on the Starship Enterprise having lengthy conversations with Captain Picard like we were old friends. But then at some point during the dream, I would become fully lucid, that is 100% aware that this is all a dream, and I'm no longer attached to any kind of narrative or storyline that I was subject to just moments before. And here's where it would get really weird for me. Now my consciousness is totally free, and I'm mentally awake. I know I'm physically asleep in my bed, but I'm still surrounded by those same people in my dream space. Now, when I become lucid in the middle of a dream, sometimes the entire scene changes and the characters vanish, but sometimes those people would continue to exist and just go about their business, apparently of their own free will. Sometimes they would continue with their own private conversations that would unfold as naturally and spontaneously as a couple's conversation next to you would play out at a restaurant in real life. So the more I found myself in these situations, my curiosity about these characters just continued to grow. And so I started interacting with them. I tried engaging them in conversations, and I mean really questioning them. And when I was younger and a little less mature, I even picked a fight with a few of them. Not because I was angry or anything, as much as I was testing the bounds of this reality. I just wanted to see what they would do. And yes, as some of you may know, there is a whole subsection of lucid dreaming that dives into what happens when you have sexual relations with some of these characters and what that means on philosophical and even ethical levels. Like, if you're in a committed relationship and you consciously have sex with a character in your lucid dream, did you just cheat on your partner? Some will argue, yes, absolutely. I've had a few requests now to do an episode that covers just that topic alone, and let me know in the comments below if that would be interesting for you. I'll do an episode just on lucid dream sex. It's pretty strange in and of itself, but let me know. Write me in the comments below. So the more I engaged with these dream personalities, the less certain I grew that they were simply just figments of my imagination. And this all began to remind me of what is called the Turing test for artificial intelligence. Some of you may know this was a test proposed by Alan Turing in the 1950s. It was originally called the Imitation Game, which is also an excellent film with Benedict Cumberbatch. In a nutshell, it's a way to test how well a computer could imitate human intelligence. That is, if you're communicating with an anonymous recipient online and you can't tell if you're communicating with a computer program or an actual human being, we could rightly say that that software is intelligent. But does that mean it's actually conscious? And is there really a difference? So many lucid dreamers kind of found themselves engaged with a sort of Turing test with these dream characters that they were communicating with in their dream states. And what I and many others conclude time and time again is that even though we know we're dreaming, from the conversations alone, there is no difference between the responses these dream characters and an actual human being would give you. They can have unique personalities and facial features and gestures, speech patterns, accents, and what they say appears to be totally spontaneous and intelligent. They can come up with ideas and opinions that seem completely foreign to us. So as I said, the typical answer that these characters are just subconscious projections made less and less sense as time went on for me. Now, in a typical dream state, I don't have a problem with that model. In a normal dream, I'm only partially conscious. I'm little more than a character in some drama who's mindlessly chasing after some solution to a dilemma or trying to survive some threat. I'm following some script, basically, as well as every other character seems to be. There's no sense that there's any free will or conscious spontaneity going on there. It's like watching a movie. Everything has already been written out, and it is very clear to me upon waking up how that storyline and each character represented some aspect of what I was wrestling with in my daily world. And I know that there are many people out there who think dreams don't have any deeper meaning at all, that they're all just random firings of the brain. I absolutely disagree with that perspective. The people and places I meet in my normal dreams have a clear, direct, symbolic connection to problems that I'm facing. Most of our dreams, maybe not all, but our most detailed, memorable dreams are clearly a representation of our emotional states as they search for some kind of equilibrium. The mind is trying to take raw, chaotic emotions and information and turn them into something understandable and linear in the format of a storyline. But when we become lucid in a dream state, all of that falls apart. The story is no longer in progress. The people are no longer following a script, so to speak. And without a narrative, all of the metaphors fall away. That means there's no longer a sense of, oh, that person represents, say, my feelings of inadequacy at work. Now it's just a stranger standing and breathing in your dream space, one that totally appears to be conscious and independent. And this is true not just for the people, but for the places you find yourself in these dream states. The house I'm in that kind of looked like my childhood home was a metaphor for my sense of, say, safety and security while the ordinary dream was playing out. But once I'm fully lucid, it's just another strange place that no longer feels like an internal projection. It feels like it has its own grounded existence, just like any other actual house you could walk into in your daily world. So when I first started conducting my little Turing tests on these characters, at first I simply just started asking them basic questions like, who are you? And I would get an array of responses, just like you would in your actual daily life. They might tell me their name, or they might ignore me. Some would tell me to leave them alone, or sometimes they just wouldn't shut up. I mean, they just go on and on about their daily life. But they all had one thing in common. They all appeared as sentient individuals, characters who very much presented and identified themselves as real as I do. And they would scoff at the idea when I would confidently assert to them that, hey, this is my dream, and you guys are just dream characters in my dream. These people would often tell you that no, they're the ones who are dreaming, and you're the one who's actually their dream character. And of course, this would become very confusing and very frustrating. If you are not a lucid dreamer and you've never experienced this yet, I can tell you firsthand that when someone in your own conscious dream that looks and feels more real than your daily life is telling you that you're not real, it's pretty damn disconcerting because it's hard to argue that they're wrong, especially when they appear every bit as real as somebody, I could meet in my daily life. And it would make me question, is it possible that somehow this personality really is as independently conscious as I am? And from their perspective, I'm just another dream character in this space? And what does that mean? The multitude of deep philosophical questions it brought up made me question everything I knew about who I was and how this world of ours works. So hopefully some of that gives you a flavor for the kind of predicament that you can find yourself in these states of consciousness, and truly how complex, how abstract, how bizarre these states can be. So as I said, in the next video, I present the full conversation I had very recently with Dave Green, who is a fellow member of the Lucid Dreaming group, the Lucid Hive, started by Rhys Jones. Dave's work caught my eye because he was tackling this lucid dream character dilemma from a really interesting original angle that I had never even considered attempting. He was entering, and he continues to do this, he enters a lucid dream state and he asks a dream character to draw a picture for him. And then he wakes up and he reproduces the drawing that they created for him. And you'll see it's amazing research that brings up so many more questions about how our mind works and our reality. I was going to add this conversation directly into this video right here, but for time's sake, I just made our discussion an entirely separate video. It's about an hour long or so. I've added links to Dave and his work below in the description. So that is part one of this two-part episode. So now jump over and go check out our full conversation on this subject. It really is interesting, and I offer you a lot of other visuals as well. Some of the pictures that he came back with out of these conscious dream states and the drawings that he's come up with, I find just fascinating. So go check that out. But for now, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Any questions that you have, you're always welcome to drop those also in the comments below. I will get to everyone's questions as soon as I can. So thanks so much for watching. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.